Hello and welcome to the car speakers installation tutorial. In this lesson, we will go over how to properly install speakers. This includes removing door panels, confirming factory wiring polarity, and mounting speakers to the doors. The common tools you will need for this install include a Phillips screwdriver, door panel upholstery tool, window crank removal tool, a wire stripper, and a crimper. For parts, you will need a speaker adapter plate, some screws, female disconnects, and some speaker wire. When installing new speakers, you will have to remove the factory door panel in order to access the factory speaker. Disassembly of the door differs from make and model, but most of them share the same basic disassembly method. Vehicle doors are usually held in by hidden screws behind plastic inserts and pressure fitting clips fastened to the metal of the door. Most vehicles will have hidden screws located in the armrest, around the door, and at the top of the door. The screws are usually hidden behind plastic small beauty inserts or behind the window and door lock control module. Look carefully around the door panel for any hidden screws. Make sure to look over the door multiple times before attempting to remove it. There will be Molex plugs for power windows and power door locks that you will need to disconnect. Push in the Molex tabs to disconnect the plugs from the controller. Once all screws are removed, start at the corner of the door and either use your hands or a door panel upholstery tool to loosen the friction fitting door clips. Gently pull the door off by pulling it outwards to release the clips and then upwards to take the door off of the track. If the door seems too hard to pull off, stop and look for any screws that you may have missed. Once the door has been removed, set it aside somewhere where it will not get in the way and get scratched. Before we can install the new speaker, we must first remove the old one from the factory location. Speakers are usually held in by screws or some type of pressure fitting mount. Once you have removed the speaker, there will be a connector that releases the speaker from the wires. Disconnect that now. Most factory speakers will not have a positive and negative marking on the speaker themselves, so we have a small dilemma. Which one of these wires is a positive and which one is a negative? The way we can find out which wire is positive and which wire is negative is by making a homemade speaker polarity checker. To create a polarity checker, all you need is a AA battery, some speaker wire, and a bit of electrical tape. Take your speaker wire, split it in half, and strip back a ½ inch of insulation off each side. Tape one end to the positive side of the battery and the other speaker wire to the negative of the battery. On the battery side, the positive side is a tip, and the negative side is the flat side. Once your battery popper is complete, cut off the factory speaker connector, leaving it with about 1 inch past the connector. Strip the wires back about a ½ inch and plug it back into the factory speaker. And with your speaker popper, pop the terminals of the speaker. Does it pop inwards or does it pop outwards? If outwards, then you have the correct polarity. Look at the speaker and write down which wire is the negative and which wire is the positive. As you can see in the video, when I apply the positive side of the battery to the factory speaker pink wire and the negative side of the battery to the purple wire, it pops outwards. When I switch the wires, it pops inwards. When the speaker pops outwards, that will be your correct wiring. When installing speakers, never mount the speaker directly to the metal. A vehicle's door is flimsy and prone to vibration, resulting in a loss of bass for the speakers. A speaker always needs a solid mount for best performance. The speaker is also more likely to ground itself out on the metal. Last but not least, if you mount the speaker directly to metal, the speaker may not fit due to the magnet hitting the window. The solution for all these problems is to use an aftermarket speaker adapter. Mount the adapter to the door using the same factory screws that held the factory speaker in place. If that is not possible, use a screw that will bite into the metal of the door. Once you have mounted the adapter plate, it is now time to wire up the speaker and mount it to the vehicle. Strip back a ½ inch of speaker wire and insert your female disconnect connectors and crimp them on. You should have the larger connector for the positive and the smaller connector for the negative. Trying to use a larger type for the smaller negative terminal will most likely result in the connector falling off. Now that the terminals are connected on, go ahead and plug them in to the speaker's terminals, positive and negative. Take note that connecting the speakers incorrectly will not cause a short circuit, but it will make your speakers sound unnatural and bass output may suffer. If the wires are not long enough to reach the back of the speakers, I suggest lengthening these wires by using some speaker wire and crimp connectors, or use solder and heat shrink. Once the speaker is wired, mount it to the adapter plate. Test the speaker by playing some music. If all checks out okay, reinstall the door panel. If you have forgotten which screw goes where, you can always look at the door across from you for reference. When this is complete, repeat the same process for the other side.